everyone. So what we're going to do is bring a material into our Illustrator workspace and use that as a pattern to fill the regions that we developed from Rhino. This is instead of rendering with a material in Rhino, a quicker way that you can just throw some texture onto your line work and get some interesting patterning. So I'm going to go to our mural, and then I'm also going to go into the free stuff area that we posted, and Lamague is where I want to head for textures. So I just want to pull off a wood texture since I think that's more likely what you guys will be working with what we're doing. Um, so let's just head to maybe miscellaneous wood. See if there's any that have a nice texture. No. I'm going to open this in a new tab so I can navigate it more easily and see plank wood. I want something with some vertical or horizontal orientation. This, so we can start to say, okay, if we had a veneer, what it would look like. I think in terms of this looks pretty good. I'm going to click this, then right click and save as, and just throw it to my desktop for right now. Wood. JPEG is fine, I think, for what we need to do. And then we're going to Illustrator, and I'm going to make sure my swatches palette has been activated from my window. Then I'm going to place that file I just saved. The great thing about that website that I brought you to is that those are already made for patterning and textures within renderers, so I don't need to be concerned that when I pattern this side or this side or this side will have a line. I hope. I have not tested it, but generally that site's pretty great for the patterning. So I'm going to scale it down to about the scale that I want. When I apply it to the region, it may need more further scaling, but we already know how to do that. So you also see that it's embedded, so I'm going to, or not embedded, so I'm going to embed it so that I can make the swatch from it. And then I'm going to go here and say create new group. And I'm going to call it textures. And just hit OK. I'm also, if you click down here, you can also say show which swatches you want. I'm going to have show all swatches on, and then if I hover over it, you're going to be able to see, oh, I created 2 of them. I'm just going to go into here, or drag this into my folder there. This works. This does not. Show color groups. I'm going to delete this one. Maybe dragging it, okay, there we go. So I just dragged it into the main area. So now I have a fill or a pattern like I just had my dots, and I'm going to delete this. I don't need it anymore. And then I'm going to go in and say that one of these surfaces is going to be wood and the other one's going to be just whatever we had. So for the one we had a lot of shadow on, I'm going to leave that as is. I'm going to go into the interior layer we had where we made those regions so that this is just one closed region within our illustration. And I'm going to select just these and then drag the select this and then make sure my fill is activated and click this and see how that applies that wood texture pattern to my surface. However, the orientation and the scale is way off, so I'm going to zoom in and then make these develop. So I'm going to right click transform and scale it just the pattern to maybe 50. We'll see what that looks like. No, that's not patterning very well. This texture is not great then for this surface because you see the patterning that's happening within it. But for right now, just to get the idea across, I'm going to hit OK. No, that is not. I'll leave it as is then for the scale and then rotate it. So let's test off some angles here. I think 45. I wanted to run this direction on my surface. So since that wasn't right, let's see what 90 looks like. That's about right. I wanted it to be this angle that I had there. So at 145, hit OK, and then do the same for here. Hit OK. And now you'll see, because this is on the interior layer, it's above the outline and my hidden line, so I've lost that information. What I'm going to do is create one more layer down here, and instead of having it be interiors, I'm going to rename it and call it textures so that I can throw it below everything I'm doing. And it won't compromise my information because I want to still have the rendering above this. So if I have this, I'm going to right click, arrange, set to current, and now you'll see that I have that line work starting to show up again. And although this isn't so bad, this is still reading too saturated for my drawing, especially if I turn on this rendering, it's dominating everything. So I'm going to bump this down a lot. Let's try 25, no. That's getting closer. You might have to play with this a bit with yours. As I said, this texture that I brought in is not the best for this. It should be closer and something that looks more close to wood instead of some kind of pattern. And I'm also going to select this and turn off the stroke for this because I don't need one with this fill. So I'm going to leave that on for now. I'm going to turn on my rendering and then see how that looks. Let's see if I put this texture above. That's not bad. So I'm going to put it above my rendering and then also drop it down. Sometimes it looks better below or above. Let's see. Okay, for right now I'll leave it as this, but the idea of how to create a textured swatch I think is kind of clearly represented, but it's still not looking great within this one. So then finally for this last one, we'll be bringing it into InDesign and adding text.